Hi, this is Mark Arnold with Fun Ideas Podcast. And today we have a returning guest. And I think this time we're on video because last time I think we were just on audio. And he's a book author. He's written many, many books. Last time we talked about his Bewitched books and Elizabeth Montgomery books. But he has a whole bunch of new books to talk about too. Here he is, Herbie J. Pilato. How are you?
Hey Mark, how are you? Hi everybody.
Hi. Okay. So let's see, couple different books that you have coming out. I guess we can go into it, but I guess first, before we do that, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into book writing from all your past experiences.
Yeah, well, briefly, although I don't know how if I can do it briefly. I'm from Rochester, New York. I always wanted to move to Los Angeles to be an actor like everybody else in the universe. And then I got a job at NBC as a page, and that's when I became very interested in behind the scenes kinds of things. And you're only contracted for like 18 months as a page. So my contract was up and
Mhm.
I was kind of despondent about that. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Then I started watching Bewitched again on TV, and NBC had just done a reunion movie for I Dream of Jeannie, which was a takeoff on Bewitched, really.
Right.
And I thought, well, let me write a reunion about Bewitched and see if Elizabeth wants to do that, Elizabeth Montgomery. And she didn't want to do that. And I said, how about we do a book about the original show? And I became an author.
Sounds good. Okay. And that's the first I heard of you because I know the Bewitched book was the first thing I purchased from you. I mean, I have many
Thank
of your other books. I have your Kung Fu book and
you.
I have the Bionic book, one of the editions, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So you've updated the Bionic book again. I think you've done it twice now. Is that correct?
No, no, no. This was really the first revision.
Oh, okay. If someone has the book like me,
Mhm.
what would prompt me to get the book again? I will probably do it anyway, but I'm just curious what you've added or changed or whatever.
Well, I liken it to, this is the best way to explain it, I think, is like when Iron Man um upgraded Spider-Man and his outfit
Yeah.
and his powers or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of liken it to that. There were certain things that I wanted to improve about the Bionic book, namely the quality of paper, and there were some typos and some extra anecdotes that I always wanted to fix. And I thought, well, now's the time to do it because this was the 50th anniversary of this is the 50th anniversary of the $6 Million Man's
Right.
debut as a weekly series.
Yes.
It started out as a monthly show.
Hmm.
So now I'm getting into it. I'm like, okay, but I got to add this, and I have to update some of the bios of the actors, and a lot of it too. I want the narrative was he says, and then some parts it said she said because either people were passed away or the tense of the book was off. So I made
Right.
sure, and this is really something all I recommend all authors of books should do. I made everything in past tense.
Hmm.
Magazine articles and online articles can be present,
Yeah.
but when you have something like a book which is permanent,
Hmm.
it really all should be in past tense. So I made everything in past tense, and then I added a couple new photos, and then Terrence McDonald,
Hmm.
who was one of the writers on the $6 Million Man, he wrote a new introduction to the book. So Richard Anderson, who played Oscar, wrote the original introduction
Right.
or forward, and
Forward.
now Terrence McDonald has written this new introduction. And then the front cover is all different, and the
Yeah.
quality over all of the book is just completely upgraded.
Is it a different publisher or the same publisher?
Same publisher.
Okay. Hmm. And did you have a need or any sort of updated interviews with Lee Majors or
No,
Lindsay Wagner? You didn't go there. Okay.
No, I
Yeah.
thought it's fine the way it is in that end of it.
Okay.
But like I said, some of the other things that bothered me, I just wanted to polish up. And in the process of that, I added, like I said, some new photos in the introduction. Now, in Retro Fan Magazine, which is coming out uh in the next issue or the issue after this, um, there's a preview of the Bionic Book on the front cover,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
pretty neat. It's like,
I think it's out already because I got it at Barnes and Noble about 2 weeks ago. In fact, I meant to hold it up and I didn't get it tonight. Yeah, so it's
the
out.
Bionic Book?
No, 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 no. The Retro Fan magazine that you're
Yeah, no,
talking about.
no,
Yeah, yeah, not the book. I'm talking about your article in Retro Fan. That's what I
well,
was
yeah, no,
saying.
there's the
Yeah.
Bewitched article in Retro Fan,
Okay.
and then there's a Bionic article that's coming out in Retro
Ooh,
Fan.
okay. I maybe I haven't seen that one. Okay, so it was the Bewitched one probably that
Yeah,
I saw. Okay. So
yeah,
you've
the
done
Bewitched
more than
one.
one article for Retro Fan. Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All
And
right.
then actually I'm doing a third one on chips, which will be out in a couple months. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I love what a gorgeous magazine that is.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And the editor, Michael Urey, is just a wonderful, wonderful human being. He loves all things retro.
Yeah. He wants me to do something for it eventually, but I tend to write for his other publication that he had. It's called Back Issue, and I've done that for at least a dozen years. So
Oh,
it's yeah. So I tend to do the comic book series that are like more goofy, no superheroes. So I mean, I've done obscure stuff like the Hee Haw comic book for Charlton and things
oh,
like that. So
oh, cool.
and really bizarre stuff. And of course, because I'm a Harvey fan, Richie Rich and Casper and all those type of
Now
things too.
you
Yeah.
do know that Misty Rowe, who was on Hee Haw,
Yeah.
is the daughter of Arthur Rowe, producer of Fantasy Island.
I did not know that. Is that how she got her break into show business, I guess?
Maybe,
Is
but she was adorable no matter what. So,
right. I mean, but I remember first seeing her on When Things Were Rotten. I don't know if
oh
I don't,
yeah,
yeah, which is now on DVD, and it
yeah.
holds up
It
pretty
is
well.
on
I liked it
DVD.
better when I was a kid, but I think it holds up pretty well. So
How many episodes? Like
I think it
15 or
was like
something?
13, yeah,
Okay.
15 or something like that. Yeah, it was like one of those. I learned at that point in my life, if it's a show that I like, it's probably not going to last very long. A hit series would be like $6 Million Man or Bionic Woman, using them, 5 seasons and 3 seasons respectively. But
Well,
the only
Mel Brooks was doing that kind of humor long before the Police Squad people were, and
right.
it was explained. I don't know who said it or when they said it or where they said it, but
Mhm.
one of the reasons why Police Squad and in perspective, when things were rotten failed is because the network felt, which is ridiculous, the network felt that you had to watch it too closely to understand.
Yeah,
What? That's baloney. I
yeah.
mean, you know. So I
But
thought they were
I love
great.
Police Squad too, so I watched
Oh,
all that stuff. So it's
yeah,
like,
the best.
yeah, I don't know what the deal is because even shows we've already mentioned, Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie and things like that. I was watching pretty closely there too.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know what they mean, but it's like,
They got to
yeah,
come up with an excuse.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I think it was just well, I can't really explain why. I know back in the earlier days, which really is interesting on TV shows, is that they would put a show on, like, say, Mondays at 9, and that's where it would stay. And it's like, well, if it's failing in the ratings, why not kind of check some other things? And then they started going later on the opposite, where they kept moving it all the time. You couldn't find the thing. So it's like, I
That was
don't.
Fred Silverman's fault. He started
Yeah.
doing that. I remember in like the mid 70s when it was like he was called the Mad Programmer. He would take MASH and put it opposite, some hit show, and everybody was freaking out.
Right.
So yeah, they started. It was just ridiculous. And the bottom line is, there's enough viewers for everything,
Yeah.
and there's only 10 spots in the top 10. Hello, and
Right.
and the 1,000 shows all can't make it into the top 10.
Right. Fortunately, wiser minds prevailed on certain series, and shows that weren't in the top 10 all the time, like, say, Carol Burnett show, at least got a decent run and things like
Yes,
that. So, you
yes.
know, you know, anyway.
And that was the last great variety show. They,
Oh yeah,
they just didn't know how to do it. They tried with Dolly Parton there in the 80s,
yeah,
but they just didn't know how to do it anymore.
yeah. And there was Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell
Yeah.
sisters and Donnie and Marie. I watched them all, but yeah,
Oh,
it's like the last great one was
with
Carol
Carol.
Burnett. I'll agree. Yeah. And even she couldn't do it when she came back. Remember that, 10 years
Yeah.
later or something, she did a newer version and
Yeah,
lasted
she
like,
did Carol and it started out as Carol and Company as a half
right.
hour where it was just skits
Yeah.
on NBC. And then it morphed back into the Carol Burnett show
Yeah.
on CBS.
Yes.
So it was
Which was
weird.
very odd. Yeah.
Very odd.
I think I like the earlier version with the sketches, before they kind of
Yeah.
rebooted back to Carol Burnett's show, just
Yeah.
because it was something different, So
Exactly. They needed
yeah,
to give it time. And for unfortunately, there is no time in TV. If it doesn't
yeah,
happen in 2 weeks, you're done.
yeah. Oh well. Um, let's see. So that's the Bionic Book. It's kind of funny you say that about correcting errors and updating things and everything. I've thought about that on virtually every book I've ever written. What I've tended to do is do a different book on the same subject, but I may go back to actually doing your plan and, actually just doing a revised update. I have done it on a Monkeys book that I did, but that was because there was a new album that came out after the time I did the original one. So there we
Well, you
go.
know what it is, Mark? You know that the way things are today, because there's so much access to so much research and information on the internet, no
Mhm.
book is ever done. It's
No.
never going to be done. You could always add something to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always going to be something new to add. And so you just have to say, this is the book, and like
For
you
now.
do
Yeah.
for now,
Yeah.
and then I'll just write another one later.
Yeah. But I will say, since I have the original Bionic book, it's a really good book. So,
Thank you. Thank
but
you.
yeah, since I'm a big fan, I have the DVDs over there on the shelf. You know, an update
Did
maybe
you
in the
get the
cards
Blu-ray?
shortly.
Have you got the Blu-ray?
I don't have the Blu-ray. I've seen them in the stores, and I'm like, yeah,
Okay, let me tell you something.
uh-huh.
The Blu-rays of both the $6 Million Man and the Bionicle Man, and I worked on them with
Oh,
Justin
okay.
Beam, the amazing producer. They are Shout Factory. They are gorgeous.
Hmm.
The Bionic episodes of both shows have never looked so good. They didn't
Hmm.
even look this good on the first run.
Well, I
I'm,
believe that.
I'm telling you, it's
Yeah.
worth the price.
Hmm. Okay.
Worth the price.
Okay. All right. Because I'm now in the phase of upgrading things to Blu-ray. I wasn't so much 10 years ago when Blu-rays first came out because I was like, why? But a lot
No.
of times they just slap things on Blu-ray. But if they're going to do a decent upgrade and remaster and whatever,
And I
or
did I did some audio commentary
I was
too.
going to say, are there a lot new bonus features and things like
Yeah,
that? Okay,
yeah.
very good. Okay, that's a selling point. Okay, so I will be on the lookout for that. So I don't know how we transition this. So you have, it's like you have the same books that I do. You go all over the map on subjects. So let's talk Sean Connery, or Connery. Sean Connery is the actual title. Before, during, and after his most famous role. What was that famous role? Zardoz, right?
Yeah,
No,
that
no,
was
no,
it.
no. First of all, the obvious question, because Mr. Connery only left us a couple years ago, did you get a chance to either talk, meet, or interview him?
I did not.
Oh,
I did not. As a matter of
okay.
fact, I was really done. I think we talked a little bit about this last time. I
Mhm.
was really done with books.
Yeah.
I was just exhausted. I'm like, okay, I interviewed everybody I wanted to interview, talked with everybody, yada, 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 wrote about everybody I wanted to write. And my agent's like, no, you're not done. You
I know
need
who
to,
your agent is too. That's funny.
he's a great guy. You have to move into film and,
Yeah.
just don't do. So we literally looked at who died that week.
Wow.
All right. So I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, wait, Sean Connery died,
Mhm.
John Rigg died. And then he came up with the idea to do a Lucas Spielberg book, which I'm still working on.
Mm.
And we sold them both in all three, excuse me, within 3 weeks
Wow. That's
at the
cool.
same time. It was crazy. It's great.
But the Sean Connery one is out, or is it almost out, like in March or
No,
something?
the Sean
Is
Connery came out in October,
Oh,
as did
okay,
the Bionic Book,
okay,
really.
okay.
Um, with the 40th anniversary of Never Say Never Again
Hmm.
and the 60th anniversary of From Russia with Love, which was Sean's favorite of his movies.
Hmm.
And it has a foreword by Barbara Carrera,
Yeah,
who was in Never Say Never Again,
right.
and an introduction by Richard DeMarco, who was Sean's best friend since birth. So I worked very, very hard on that book because there's so many different Bond books and so many different Connery books out there. I wanted to make mine different. And the difference
Hmm.
is that I wanted it to be a biography, like no other biography of his before.
Hmm.
And I wanted it to be also a film guide to his movies, not just about Bond, but everything he's done. And I
Right.
wanted to tie it in about, and the theme essentially is this guy who was a fantastic actor, no matter how great he was, as being the best James Bond, and in my opinion, and no matter how great he was in every other movie he did, he put Bond in everything he did, and he
Yeah,
couldn't escape it.
yeah. I'll agree
So
with that.
that's really the thread, if
Yeah.
not the theme of the book.
Hmm.
It's not just about his movies. It's not just about his life. It's not just about James Bond. It's about all of that.
Hmm. Now, did you interview others that worked with him and things like that for the book?
Absolutely.
Can you name
Um,
a few names?
Sure. The birds. Um, from
Tip,
Marnie. What's her name?
Tippy Hedren?
Hippie Hedren.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Hippie Hedren. Luciana Paluzzi from Thunderball,
Oh, yeah.
one of the Bond girls. Um, Bill Daly, who was one of Sean's co-stars in the one of his non-Bond movies, and then went on to work as a Warner Brothers executive and supervised another of Sean's movies.
Mhm.
Um, oh gosh, there's so many different people. You think I can think of one right now? But there's a lot. There's a lot of new information in that book that's never ever been published
Mhm.
anywhere else. And I'm very, very proud. It's probably the best book I've ever written.
Hmm. Well, it looks good, at least if you judge a book from the cover. Like, I like the name. I would, it's very clever to do the Connery, Sean Connery. Um, what was the most interesting thing you discovered about Sean Connery's life?
That he had a really great sense of humor, and that he was very generous.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely had his issues, and I explore that, with his wife and the abuse and all of that. Um, I address that and by saying that, look, they're both dead. The only two people that know what's really going on or what really went on with them
Yeah,
were them.
yeah,
And if he did all those things, shame on him.
yeah.
Okay. But not that he's perfect, and not that that should be justified in any way, but he did do so many wonderful things. He was gave a lot to charity. He cared very much about young people growing up in Scotland who didn't have money, because he grew up with nothing.
Hmm.
He was really all the way around an amazing guy who has flaws,
Yeah.
who had flaws, just like the rest of us.
And I appreciate that, even without reading the book yet. Is that it's the type of book that I would like, because I like having a well-rounded picture. I don't want it to be a warts and all per se. Is just nitpicking about how awful he was. I want to say, okay, he had his he was a great man, but he had some demons. He tried to do this, and he did these nice things. Sometimes he'd fail here, but you know make him a human being on a piece of paper.
Well, he came from an era, where he wasn't the only guy that ever hit women. I mean, if
Right, right.
that
I
was the
mean,
case.
you can go into like John Lennon or whatever. It's like, everybody that, adores the Beatles and everything, but it's like, well, it's there, you
It's
can't
there.
hide it.
You
And
can't.
And
The James Bond character had issues too. I mean,
yeah,
he wasn't all that great with women. It was horrible, and certainly that, thank
yeah,
God, it has
yeah,
changed over the years.
yeah,
So, but it was of its time.
right,
He grew up tough, fighting everybody. You
right.
know, his relationship with his father wasn't that great. He
Hmm.
loved and adored his mother, but he was a street gang kid. You know,
Hmm.
so that was I'm not justifying
Yeah.
the fact that if he was violent, if he did hit his wife, I'm not
Hmm.
justifying that's okay. I'm just saying that it's what he knew,
Hmm.
and he didn't really address his anger issues because they didn't have things like that where you could address your anger issues.
Right. Now, the thing that I would like to know in his life, I mean, I know, earlier movies like Darby O'Gill and The Little People and things like that. But, did he always want to become an actor, or was it just something he kind of fell into?
He loved acting. He started out as a model.
Okay.
He was modeling actually for Richard DeMarco.
Okay.
Richard DeMarco was an art teacher, and
Mhm.
he asked Sean to model.
Hmm.
And it was Richard who said, you know what? Instead of just standing still, because you're so beautiful, instead of just standing still and making money pittance from modeling, you could move around on stage and act.
Hmm.
And so it was Richard's inclination combined with a friend of Sean's. After he did like a South Pacific, he did a live version, but in a very minimal role. It wasn't
Hmm.
anything major. And a friend of his said, you know what? You should start pursuing this more extensively. And then he did. And then he threw himself into the classics, and he was self-taught. He studied everything from Shakespeare to Ibsen to Moliere. He
Hmm.
he he took care of it all, and he really threw himself 100% into that. And later on, when he started appearing in films and he became a star,
Hmm.
he made sure all the scripts were to his liking. He
Hmm.
never ever settled for less.
Hmm. Now, obviously, he had kind of this love-hate relationship with the Bond character because he left the series three times. um,
Yeah.
uh, Maybe the last one wasn't necessarily, but it's like I think he was offered something after Never Say Never Again, and he said no. So, did he come to terms with it, do you feel, later in life that, I was this character and I understand people's love of this character and it was an important period of my life and things like that? Or did he always like, pshaw, that's in the past. I'm doing other movies now, How did he see his career?
Well, when he first got Bond, of course, he was thrilled.
Right.
I mean, he even said, "Look, I'm bald. How you sure you want me for this? I'm bald." And then they threw a toupee at him, and then he became a superstar like overnight.
Yeah.
So it was okay for a while, and then he was overwhelmed with it, which led to really his divorce from his first wife, who later accused him of abusing her.
Hmm.
Um, then, you know, it was becoming too technical. He didn't like all the gadgetry. That's why From Russia with Love is his favorite, because it was the
Yeah.
most realistic.
Hmm.
But then it was getting out of hand, and he didn't like that. And then the Bond appeal was getting out of hand, and he was really sick of it. So then he left.
Hmm.
And he also didn't like that he felt that James Bond wasn't as developed a character. It was like automatically he was born 30 years old. What about his mother and father? What about his past? He didn't see any history of Bond that he could draw from to interpret the character. So he leaves. And then which was a mistake, because he said no to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which to me and many people really feel is one of the best Bond
It
movies,
is a good movie. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
not the best.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, George Lazenby, God bless him, is not Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And that movie had the character development that Sean wanted. I mean, he gets married, for pity's sake, right? Bond gets married to Diana Rigg, by the way.
Right.
And it is an amazing film.
Yeah.
So just imagine how great it would have been if Sean would have said yes, right? Okay. So he comes back to Diamonds Are Forever, which is not a wonderful movie. And he's like 20 pounds heavier. He doesn't look great. And the movie does okay. And, he leaves it after that. And then, of course, Roger Moore takes over.
Right.
So then, years later, he comes back and he does Never Say Never Again, not with the broccoli people, does it with the cucumbers. Joke, joke. Not with the broccolis, okay? But it's allegedly a redo of Thunderball because somehow the rights are divided. And when I first saw it back in '83, I'm like, geez, where's the dun, 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 dun,
Right.
it didn't have the same sheen. It wasn't as brightly lit, yada, yada, yada. But when I watched it and researched for this book again, I'm like, man, this is an excellent film. So, he just, they just threw all kinds of money at him. His second wife is the one who came up with the title for that film. And by the way, she was an artist, or she is an artist. And the first wife was an actress. So there was a issue there with, egos. But his second wife, who adored him to the day he died, she didn't even know, James Bond. She was an artist, a painter. She didn't care about acting. So it really worked. Okay, so he comes to terms with James Bond after they give him $1 billion to do whatever they gave him for Never Say Never Again. And then by now he's established himself as an actor in other films. So it's okay to go back to Bond.
Right.
And, then he started joking with Roger Moore at the award shows and yada, yada, yada. So to answer your question, he ultimately came to peace with it. Yes, certainly towards even the very end of his life, where he did some voiceover work for like a video game.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So he returned to it. But you know what, Mark? I have seen this with Mary Tyler Moore. I saw it with Elizabeth Montgomery.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I don't want to be Samantha anymore. I don't want to be Laura Petrie anymore. I don't want to be Mary Richards anymore. But then when they realize that the fans are not going away and that they love those characters and they love those actors because of those characters, they just give up and they're like, you know what? And it happens towards the end of their life.
Yeah.
Mary Tyler Moore started going on Rosie O'Donnell with Valerie Harper to talk about the show.
Right.
He wouldn't have done that in the '70s.
Right. Well, she even did a TV movie with, it was called Mary and Rhoda.
Which is probably the worst TV movie ever made.
Yeah. But it was done. Yeah.
But yes, and it was actually a pilot for a series.
Yeah.
But you know why it failed, in my opinion? It failed because they took Mary Richards and Rhoda Morgenstern, two beloved characters that we knew from a sitcom world with an audience in the studio, and they turned it into a movie camera with like with a one camera. You can't do that. You can't switch formats on people.
Well, I guess my thought was when it happened is, well, we did it with Lou Grant and Ed Asner, so maybe we can have lightning strike twice. Well,
absolutely. But Lou Grant was a drama. Mary and Rhoda was supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't any comedy. It fell flat. And also too, Mary looked horrible. God bless her. She had all that surgery that was unnecessary. Look, I'm all for looking as good as you can look. Okay, little nip here, a little tug there, whatever. But extensive teeth implants, not jaw, but cheekbones. They took away those beautiful, adorable chipmunk cheeks that she had. So, and Valerie Harper, in the meantime, looked gorgeous. So it was a very, 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 very sad life to me. In my opinion.
Oh well.
I don't know. I'm sorry we got onto Mary.
I know, but you think about those things. I used to love watching and get frustrated by all the reunion shows they used to have during the 70s, 80s, 90s. It was either that a particular cast member, like say Larry Hagman, wouldn't do the show, or Tina Louise wouldn't do the show, or whatever, or it was just a really bad script like Beverly Hillbillies, or just they were just unfortunately, sometimes age does catch up with you, like the Green Acres one, and they're hobbling around, and you're like, "Ugh,"
Directed by William Asher, by the way.
you know, that Green Acres reunion.
The
Wow.
reunion, yeah, the Green
Uh,
Acres reunion. William Asher married to Elizabeth Montgomery, and he also directed I, Jim and Jeannie 15 years later. And Elizabeth was not happy about that. Bill
no.
told me that she said, I go, I said, Bill, I go, I was a little disappointed that you did I, Jim and Jeannie 15 years later. He said, you should have heard Liz. I said, you idiot, how could you?
Was there ever any talk? I know they all kind of died, unfortunately, young, but was there any talk of doing a Bewitched reunion, like even in the 70s?
Yes,
Around the time of, say, Tabitha or something? Yeah.
yes. And not the 70s, but the 80s by Herbie
Okay.
J. Pilato. Herbie J. Pilato wrote a reunion movie for Bewitched. And
Oh, I didn't know
and yes.
that.
And Elizabeth Montgomery didn't want to do it.
Oh.
And so I mean I wrote that right after I saw Ija Magini 15 years later on NBC. But about a year after I wrote that script and she didn't want to do it, Bill Asher was going to do a new show called Bewitched Again.
Hmm.
And I found out about that and I called him and I sent him my script. He loved it. And it was going to be done, financed in the UK. And this witch was going to marry a mortal who, instead of Darren saying, no, 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 honey, you can't do the magic, this new mortal was going to like encourage the magic. And Elizabeth was going to come on in a cameo as
Hmm.
Samantha,
Hmm.
introduce the new witch, and then pop off forever. So that was a big deal. She
Hmm.
finally was going to come back and do it, but it didn't work out. And that's when I said, Bill, I got all this bewitched energy. Do you think she'll do the Bewitched book with me?
Yeah.
And she did.
Okay.
And that's how that happened. So
Let's see. Now, where are we? Well, I want to talk about the other new book. Now, this one isn't released, the Diana Rigg one called One Tough Dame Life and Career of Diana Rigg. Yeah, are you still working on it, or is it just not published yet?
it is in the final stages of editing.
Okay.
My publisher has it, so we go back and forth,
Hmm.
and it's all set for. This is very interesting. September 16th, One Tough Dame, the Life and Career of Diana Rigg is going to be out by the University Press of Mississippi,
Hmm.
and then the next day, September 17th, 2024, Christmas TV Memories, nostalgic holiday favorites of the small screen is going to be published. And September 17th just so happens to be the 60th anniversary of Bewitched.
Oh,
So there you go. And there's got to be
Kismet.
some kind of precedent where two new books are published by the same author one day apart. That's got to be the first time that's ever happened,
Yeah.
or at least
I
nonfiction.
I almost had that happen, but no,
Oh,
with my Turtles music book, which is out, and my Mad book, but the Mad book, I'm still fumbling around with the cover, and I actually preferred it to not come out the same day.
yeah,
Because
it's
which one do
tough.
you promote? I mean, I don't mind you
Yes,
promoting any project you're doing on my show. So it's like, but sometimes people are like, "Wow, this is overwhelming. Do we talk Sean
yeah,
Connery? Do we
it's
talk
true.
Diana Rigg? Blah 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 blah."
It's true.
Actually, I have
Yeah.
a Sean Connery question since you mentioned Diana Rigg being on your Her Majesty's Secret Service. Did Connery, to your knowledge and your research, ever express any regrets not doing that film?
On Her Majesty's Secret Service?
Yeah,
I never heard that.
yeah, I've
I
never heard
never heard
anything
that.
either. I was just curious if you might have seen it and said, "Wow, he got married and to Diana Rigg. All right," it's like,
He
yeah,
probably was pissed off, I would
yeah,
say. He
yeah,
probably was, but he was never going to admit it, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
because because it's to me or to him, all that really mattered, and he joked about this too with Roger Moore. He knew he was the best Bond,
yeah,
no matter who else did it, he knew he was. He respected Roger Moore, but
yeah,
Roger Moore, it was kind of a hokey James
yeah.
Bond,
Roger Moore, I think, started out promising. Like, even though there are silly moments, I like Live and Let Die and Man with the Golden Gun. But
Okay.
definitely Moonraker and later. Well, even The Spy Who Loved Me with Jaws and everything. It's like and by the
Well,
time
A View to a Kill was horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And it's funny by the time, you talk about Never Say Never Again, you didn't like it when you first saw it way back when, or you just
I did, but
okay.
it was lacking to me because I was
Right.
comparing it to the other Bonds, right?
Right.
And
But
I
then,
didn't have,
the thing is like, Octopussy came out that year
yeah,
and it was like, yeah, and then View to a Kill came out and it's like, ugh.
yeah,
It's like, wow, Connery still has it.
yeah.
Too bad they can't get him back for a few more. But
And he looked
anyway.
great. The only thing I didn't like about Never Say Never Again then and now is that guy playing M. He's just so annoying. The young, I don't know what he's like on drugs or something. It's horrible.
Well, maybe they just didn't want to make any comparisons to Bernard Lee or something. I don't
Well,
know,
they didn't.
Yeah. Because I'm sure even though they had full right to do that film, there was probably still like some nervousness that the Broccoli's would put the kibosh on the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like we just spent all this money to do that Sean Connery and we can't put out this film. So, it's like I'm sure that went through their heads, but I'm glad they all came out. The other thing that you may or may not remember, and this ties into reunion films, is The Return of the Man from Uncle had a cameo with George Lazenby that year in 1983 as JB.
Right.
Anyway,
Well, and a lot of people don't know that Ian Fleming, he was the impetus for the Man from Uncle.
yeah.
You know, so I mean, I don't know. Maybe a lot of people do know that, but I really didn't
Well,
know that until I started researching the book. So
yeah. So, um, now on the Diana Rigg book, same thing as I asked on Sean Connery. Did you ever get a chance to meet and or interview her?
no,
Okay, that's fine.
because she died,
Yeah,
and she
but
died
okay, so in
before
both
I
of
could.
these, well, sometimes you luck out, you meet somebody,
Yeah,
and just talk with them and interview them or whatever, and then it's just, and this has happened with me in a couple of my books, thank God. Uh, for my Mad book, I interviewed some people when I was doing my Cracked book, so I had the interviews put away, and so when it came to do the Mad book, they are long gone, but I had the interviews so I could take quotes and things. So that's why I asked that. If
no, it's a fair
yeah,
question.
yeah.
And however, Rupert McNee, son of Patrick McNee,
Mm.
has written the foreword, and Ray Austin, who just passed away last year, he has written the introduction. Ray Austin was the stunt coordinator
Oh.
and the director on the Avengers.
Mhm.
And he also, by the way, went on to do countless TV shows, including the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman.
Oh, cool. It all ties
It
together.
all ties in, right?
um, so, you know, Diana Rigg's career is like, wow, probably even more than Sean Connery in a certain respect, because, she's known to fans for the Avengers. That's probably most fans, I would think. But then she's known for years of hosting Mystery and, that one James Bond film. And, then she was on Game of Thrones in more recent times. And it's like, so she has this fan base that goes all over the map. I guess Sean Connery did too, for being in an Indiana Jones film and everything like that, and The Rock and other movies later on. He got a different younger audience and stuff like that. I don't know what my
The difference
go ahead.
between Sean and
Uh-huh.
Diana is that Sean took care of himself. He really did. He was in shape for really almost till the day he died, except for that last year and a half. But Diana Rigg, she smoked like a fiend. And she just aged herself so badly.
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, she was gorgeous. And she would have lived probably another 10 years had she not smoked.
Hmm.
Um, so she didn't age all that well. But man, what an actress.
Hmm.
What an actress. And Sean, he aged well, and he never escaped James Bond, I don't think. But Diana did escape Emma Peel.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the general dichotomies between the two.
Now, did she have issues with Emma Peel as a character?
Not as much as Sean.
Really? Okay.
Not as much as Sean. I mean,
Okay.
early on when she left the show, yeah, she didn't want to talk about it, just like Elizabeth didn't want to talk about Samantha, and Mary didn't
Right.
want to talk about it.
Hmm.
But she it didn't take her until her later years to come to peace with it. She
Right.
came to peace with Emma Peel, I'd say in the late 70s or maybe
Okay.
in the 70s. She wouldn't return to the role.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Is like, they did the new Avengers in the
Yeah,
70s. Would
yeah.
she have even considered it even as a cameo or anything like
No,
that?
she said no to that. She didn't even want to do the Avengers movie that they did, which was also horrible.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
the more recent one. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
God. That
Yeah.
Sean was in. See how that
Yeah.
is? He played the villain in that. How about that?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so she came to peace with it, but she would not,
Mm.
go back to the role.
Now I'm wondering, did Sean Connery and Diana Rigg ever work in any project together? Or
Yes,
they,
they
what did
did
they,
it. They did a film together.
which one?
Oh my gosh, Africa, back a good man in Africa or something like
Oh,
that.
okay. All right.
It
I
was
guess I haven't seen that one.
That's because it
Okay.
was it was a really bad movie.
Okay. Well.
And even the director who I interviewed for, uh, that Bruce Harrisford, he even said it was a horrible movie. So, but yes, they did
Okay.
work
Because
together.
I was wondering it's like they have kind of similar careers in a certain respect. And it seems odd that they didn't cross paths a little bit more frequently. And there's just these like
David
neat,
McCollum
yeah.
and Diana Rigg worked together, you
Hmm.
know, on like PBS or BBC series. But Sean and Diana didn't work as extensively as David and Diana.
Now, in Diane's case, she was more classically trained, correct? I mean, she did a lot more theater and stuff like that. Is that correct?
She
Or
went full throttle
yeah. Okay.
training. I mean, she was the Shakespeare Theater and
Okay.
in the Royal Shakespeare Theater in England and what I really am very proud of with my book is
Mhm.
that I connected with the Royal Shakespeare Company and have paid a fortune for them, but all these rare, gorgeous photos that are from that era of her life that's never been seen, and they're in my book.
Ooh, okay,
And
cool.
I'm extremely proud of that.
Now, did she, asking a lot of similar questions here, did she aspire to be an actress when she started out, or did she
Oh God, yes.
okay, and did she start out as a model like you said
No,
Sean did? Okay, all right, because she was attractive, so
yeah.
yeah, so
She might have
um
modeled a little bit,
yeah.
but just to make money. But that was her goal, was not to be a model. Her goal was she loved acting from day one.
Mhm.
So
And I guess on both Sean Connery and Diana Rigg, what are your favorite films or TV shows or whatever for each one? Or do you want to be impartial?
I loved um, all of the movies that Sean did, except for a couple. A couple, like the monk where he played the monk.
Oh yeah,
That just bored the heck right out of me, and
yeah,
I couldn't understand anything that anybody was saying.
yeah.
Um, Gosh,
I mean, I mentioned Zardoz as a joke, but it's like,
that I don't know what he was thinking with that movie. I have no idea what he was thinking. Name some of Sean's non-movies or non-Bond movies.
well, I mean, the ones I like, I'll just say the ones I like. I like Time Bandits. He's not in it a whole lot, but you know,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Yeah,
That was wonderful.
yeah.
Oh, The Untouchables. I
The
mean, The
Untouchables. Oh yeah, oh
Untouchables
yeah, yeah. Forgot
was
about that.
amazing.
Hmm.
Okay, and I really wish he wouldn't have. Spoiler alert: died in that. But he was amazing in that.
Yeah.
Name another one.
Well, I mentioned earlier The Rock. I actually did like that one. Yeah.
The Rock, he talk about not escaping James Bond.
Yeah.
He was James Bond.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll agree. I saw
That
that in the theater and I go, yeah, yeah,
that was the elder James Bond. So I
yeah,
don't know who he's trying to fool there.
yeah,
So again, everything he did, except for the
yeah,
monk, there was a little piece of James Bond in that. Now,
yeah.
Diana, I loved her last movie.
Which is what?
Um, the what the heck was it? The horror, kind of like a horror movie. Last Night in Soho.
Okay. I
Loved
never
it.
saw that one. Okay.
He was wonderful. And then I loved the Muppet movie that she
Oh, The
did.
Great Muppet Caper. I
I
love
mean,
that movie too. In
I mean
fact,
that that
that's
line.
my favorite Muppet movie, and most people say, "Oh, and it's like it's funny and it has a good story. It's not just a bunch of cameos by a zillion stars. There are
Exactly.
cameos, but it makes sense. You know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Whatever happens in that world makes sense. And that's a
Yeah.
sure sign of a good script is the logistics within the illogic of whatever is going on. But she's got that one line in that movie that just makes me laugh where she says, she's talking about Miss Piggy, and somebody asks her about her. And she goes, "Oh, you mean the pig?" Or she says something like that. It's so straightforward, hilarious.
Mhm. Now, here's a film that I like, and I'd probably like it more for George C. Scott, but I thought she was good. It is The Hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
You know
Yeah.
why
We
I
can't
don't
see
have a
eye to eye
problem.
and everything, but yeah.
I have a problem with the hospital, like I have a problem with, which has nothing to do with either of them, but Bonnie and Clyde. I don't like
Ooh,
how everything shifted into realism, you
yeah.
know, and it's really
I can
Martin,
see your point.
you
Yeah.
know, that's
Yeah.
where it all changed. And I blame Martin Scorsese because
Yeah.
he's the one who saw Singing in the Rain and he said, you know what? That curb in the street looks too fake. I want my curbs to look real. And I'm like, no, Martin. I want my curbs in movies to look as fake as possible. I
Yeah.
want I want movies to be movies.
Yeah.
I get enough of reality. I want to see a movie. That's
Yeah.
why I'm just not pleased with a lot of the new product today and on TV and in movies.
Yeah. Well, I will agree with you on that. Yeah, I tend to like uh movies that are basically allow me to escape. It's like if I want something serious and dramatic that's based on something real, I don't mind watching a documentary, but I don't like watching a dramatic recreation of something typically,
Yeah.
because it gets a little dark and a little too serious and things like that. So I tend to agree with you on that. Hospital, I didn't see it that way, but maybe I'll have to try it again, because I thought it was kind of amusing throughout. I know George C. Scott was pretty intense, but it's like, anyway. But to each his own.
And it's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I do not sit in judgment of you.
no. uh, let's see. The Christmas book. Let's talk about that. What's the title of that one again? And
The Christmas book is Christmas TV Memories,
Mhm.
Nostalgic Holiday Favorites of the Small Screen. And it's divided into 4 different parts. The
Okay.
first part focuses on music variety shows
Hmm.
and music variety specials, like, Andy Williams, Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, Lawrence Welk, the King family. And the
Hmm.
second part focuses on animated specials, Rudolph, Frosty, Mr. Magoo's
Hmm.
Christmas Carol, which was really the first animated series or special.
Right.
And the third part focuses on Christmas TV movies. And, they're going crazy with them today all over the place.
Right.
But classics like The Gathering with Ed Asner and It Happened One Christmas
Mhm.
with Marlo Thomas, who, by the way, has written the foreword.
Hey,
My
you get
book.
all
I'm
the
very
good
excited
parts.
about that. And then the fourth part is episodic Christmas episodes from TV shows, weekly shows.
Now, is
So,
this everything, or is this
okay,
what you consider the best?
okay. It is impossible to do a Christmas book about every single Christmas episode in depth that's
Yeah.
ever been done. It was crazy. So it's a selective list.
Hmm.
My mainstream have loved over the years. I mean, there's our encyclopedic, very nice books, but this one would be a narrative exploration. And to do a narrative, you'd have to, on every show, it would be like 2,000 pages. So we knocked it down to just 400, and
Wow.
that's probably even still too much.
Hmm. So is it what time period does it cover? I mean, like from the beginning of
50s,
film, or is it a certain window?
mostly 50s, 60s, 70s, but I
Okay.
do explore a little bit the 80s and the 90s because those the 90s now are classic TV. The 2000s
Right.
are classic TV for people. In our era, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s was classic, but
Right.
now all the others are too. But at the same time, you don't have a lot of real memorable Christmas specials from the 80s and 90s. There's some, but
Yeah.
really what everybody remembers are the ones from the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah. I agree. Now, do you put anything in there like, some people argue about such things, and this is probably not in the book, but like Die Hard, which is not really a Christmas movie, but it's set at Christmas. So, do you have
First
anything
of
like
all,
that, or
first
what's
of
your
all,
what's your qualification of putting something in the,
well, these are only TV movies
oh,
and
TV
TV
movies? Okay,
shows.
no
So Die
theatrical.
Hard
Okay,
is a feature film.
okay, so no theatricals. Okay, all right.
No, this is Christmas
Okay,
TV memories.
okay, got it. Got to listen to the title. Okay, all right. So, have you seen all the ones that you're covering in the book? And did you view anything that you hadn't seen before out of just like curiosity to see if this would be something that I should add or what?
All I heard was Mitzi Gaynor, Mitzi Gaynor, Mitzi Gaynor. And I remembered she did a Christmas special in 67 for Kraft. And I remembered faintly, but I wanted to watch it, as this adult person now doing this book. It is so wonderful.
Oh,
I mean, we were talking about before about the fake curbs. To me, a Christmas music special
hmm,
has to look as fake as possible. Fake snow, fake street scenes, fake Christmas villages, no on location stuff, which is what John Denver and Julie Andrews and Perry Como did later on. And John Denver went to the, uh, Denver or whatever, the Rocky Mountains.
yeah,
No, no, I want to have my Christmas specials in the studio looking with fake snow falling, and that's it.
yeah.
So
Okay.
Mitzi Gaynor's special is so perfect. It's
Mm,
just lovely. And I love the Lawrence Welk specials. I
mhm,
love the King family. Tina Cole, I interviewed Tina Cole. I interviewed Tanya Welk, who is Lawrence's former daughter-in-law. Lisa Lucas from The House Without a Christmas Tree, which is my favorite Christmas TV movie
mm,
ever. Father Knows Best reunion, Christmas, Home for Christmas or Home for the Holidays. One of my
mm,
favorite TV movies as well, Christmas TV movies. I
mhm.
mean, just so many. So yes, I watched as much as I could.
Very cool. And I don't know. Is there any surprises or anything that I guess along the way, or anything you discovered, or besides the Mitsugainer one?
Um,
Well,
I had wanted to do this book for a long time. Just like with my Christmas book from
yeah.
last year, which was The 12 Best Secrets of Christmas,
Okay.
um, A Treasure House of December Memories Revealed, where I
Okay. I
talk
thought you
about,
had done a Christmas book before. That's what was confusing here. I was like,
yeah,
wait a minute, didn't this already come out? So what's
no,
that other book about? Then let's mention that one too. So
yes.
what?
That is my personal Christmas memoir
Okay.
of growing up in Rochester, New York in the 60s and 70s. And I take 12 different memories,
Hmm.
and there's a message within each memory, and that message is a secret to Christmas. So the 12 best secrets of Christmas. So with Christmas TV memories, it's all about TV specials, okay, that I
Mhm.
watch and that everybody else watch.
Hmm.
But the 12 Best Secrets of Christmas is my personal memoir.
Got it. Okay. I was confusing thinking it was all the one book. So I was like, and I kind of vaguely remember since we last spoke that that other one came out. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So, um, all these books, are they published by various different publishers, or do you have a consistent publisher for every project, or is it whatever? Who do you pursue? I guess.
It's all different. Whoever
Okay.
says yes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
The University of Mississippi, University of Kentucky, uh, um, Applause Books is doing the Christmas TV Memories book. Bear Manor Media did Connery and the new Bionic book. Dinah Rigg is University of Mississippi, the University Press of Mississippi. So all different.
Very cool. And then I read that you're also doing audiobooks, and you did a recent audiobook of the Mary Tyler Moore and Twitch Upon a Star and retroactive television. So, um, how do you go about recording those, and what's the process on that?
And the Connery book too is an audiobook.
Oh, okay. All right.
Tanter Media, my agent,
Hmm.
um, contacted Tanter Media and cut the deals for those. So it was very exciting because I narrate the introduction to Twitch
Hmm.
and I narrate the introduction to the Sean Connery book, but I do the whole thing of retroactive television.
Hmm.
So I'm excited about that. Yeah, so those are available. And by the way, if anybody wants personally signed copies of any of my books, including hardcover or CD versions of the audiobooks, you can order them directly from my website. Just contact me via my website or Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever it's called now.
Hmm.
I'm all over the place.
Hmm. And that probably kind of wraps everything up. I usually ask people to promote everything. So,
Oh,
and we've kind of gotten close to an hour here. And but before we go, are you making any personal appearances at bookstores or signings or different shows or anything in the next few months?
I opted not to go to the Hollywood show, which is going on this weekend. I
Hmm.
mean, to sign, I might visit, but
Yeah.
I don't like to oversaturate. I don't
Hmm.
want people to get tired of me. So I'm holding off, especially because I got two books coming out like a day after each other
Hmm.
next fall. So I'm holding off in the fall, and I'll be doing signings in the Los Angeles area, possibly going back to Rochester for the Christmas book because I did my 12 Best Secrets Christmas at the Pittsburgh Barnes and Noble, and it was a really wonderful turnout. So I might be going back to New York for the new Christmas book
Cool.
in
Okay.
December. We'll see.
All right. And I think you mentioned it earlier, but what projects are you working on currently that you can discuss?
I'm doing writing the Lucas Spielberg book
Oh, that's
about
right.
their movies in the big 80s, just in the 80s.
Okay.
And what else am I doing? Oh, I've just finished a special production, TV production that I'm not allowed to talk about right now, but it's
Fair
a
enough.
really, really, really cool thing.
Okay.
And there's the
And and
possible
you,
negotiations for a TV movie on the 12 Best Secrets of Christmas, which I would just love. So
yeah. Man, you write all these books I want. You know,
thank
uh
you. Thank you.
and definitely I will get your other writings. Are you going to continue to write for Retrofan as well?
Yes, I love
Okay.
them.
Are you going to be
Yes.
like a regular or recurring at least writer for them? Because
I guess whatever they want me to do, I'll do because that guy, Michael Yuri, he respects the writer so much.
yes.
He doesn't try to change it, and he adds intelligent suggestions and doesn't fight with the writers, and he just respects the writer's vision. So I will write for them as much as he wants me to.
Yeah. What I like about Michael, and he's been a podcast guest too, is he will clear things through me, as it were. It's like even if it's an article I haven't written, if it's about certain like Harvey comics or something, he'll say, can you read through this and does everything make sense? Because he
Wow.
wants it to be accurate, and he
Wow.
knows I'm the guy that knows all this stuff. So if somebody else is writing some BS crap about it, it's like I can say, that's not accurate, So anyway, but all right. Well, got a lot of books to put on my want list now, and definitely I'm gonna get that Sean Connery one. That's probably the first one I will get because I was a big
It's
fan.
a good book.
Yeah.
It's a good. Let me know what you think about it after you get it.
All right. And I'll give you a multi-star review on Amazon.
Thank you.
Usually I give 5. Most of the time I don't give
Thank
4 or 3 unless it's really wretched. But I
Just be
trust,
honest. Be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. But I trust your writing.
And if you
Yeah,
give me a bad review, well, then I'll just never talk to you again.
that's right. But no, I've actually enjoyed every book I've written, every book I've written, every book I've read, every book I've read that you've done. So,
Oh, thank you,
I'm
Mark.
always welcome, to bring in more. So, all
Thank
right.
you.
Well, when you get a few more books written, we'll probably have you back on the show again. But it was a pleasure having you again on the show to talk about your latest projects and go out there and buy them. So, all right. Again, thank you, Herbie J. Pilato, for being my special guest. And we'll see you next time on the Fun Ideas Podcast.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody.